Duco Promotions Limited. I'm incredibly pleased to announce that at Vector Arena on Saturday the 10th of December 2016, Kiwi-born Joseph Parker will fight Mexican Andy Ruiz for the vacant WBO Heavyweight Championship title. This is a historic moment.
Well, if you go back 3 months, you could not have envisaged that Joseph Parker would be fighting for a world title, let alone a world title fight in New Zealand, in Auckland. I mean, it's a remarkable feat of reverse engineering that Duco have done to have gone from talking about a lead-in fight in the UK with a view to fighting Anthony Joshua next year. All of a sudden, with Tyson Fury's relinquishment of the titles, they've literally worked their way back through the States. They've got Andy Ruiz on board and they've got a WBO world title.
Well, this is a massive event in New Zealand. I mean, this is a WBO, which is one of the big 4 heavyweight championship fight, and it's the championship of the world going to New Zealand. Unprecedented, historic.
No New Zealander has ever won the heavyweight championship of the world. And although Mexico has hundreds and hundreds of young men every year competing, no Mexican has ever won the heavyweight championship. So for each country, it means a lot.
I've done over 100 world title fights in my career, including 20 Ali fights, Thriller in Manila, Rumble in the Jungle. To me, this is like a thrill for me to do this fight.
There's a lot of things going on in the world, but there's only one heavyweight championship fight. So cricket and rugby and all the other stuff that they do really take in and embrace December the 10th and Joseph Parker and Andy Ruiz.
Growing up, I think I was about 3 or 4 years old. My dad, he really loves boxing. I can remember he would hold up his hands like this, and he would tell me to punch in, do combinations. And as a little kid, I would just keep throwing my hands. My uncles would be around and family were around. It doesn't matter who's around, he'll say, this boy will be a champion boxer. He said that when I was only 3 or 4 years old. He said, this boy's going to be a champion. My mom, she's a beautiful person, very supportive, loves each and every one of us the same. There's 3 of us. She supported us from the start.
When the kids were growing up in a young age, we taught them about hard work. We don't like them to get anything for nothing. We like them to deserve what they work for.
Mom, I think, had 2 jobs at one time, and go to work, come back, go to another job, come back, look after us, make food, everything. My dad had 2 jobs at one stage. Came back, went home, went out to take the fishing net and catch fish and to provide for our family, and just seeing the work ethic that they had, they sort of, I think I picked up on it as a young boy. My dad's named after one of the great champions of old, Jack Dempsey, so his name is Dempsey. And I think my grandma was watching TV one time and saw this fight and was like, oh, this is a champion, champion boxer, so I might as well call my son Dempsey. Sometimes he'll go on his work trip and he'll come back and he'll be like, hey boys, I got something for you, because me and my little brother John loved boxing. We started watching clips when we were babies or when we were young, and he'll come back, he got this gift for you. Hey Dad, what is it? Open it up, it's a little punchy bag like this with little gloves. And then he's like, hey, boys, put it on. How does it feel? I was like, oh, that's not bad. And then he hold this little bag and we'll start punching it.
He would go and buy those for the kids. And I said, what about some normal toys for the normal kids? and our family, relatives used to laugh because, you know, here are the kids on Christmas playing tennis, volleyball, and all kind of toys. And here he is at the back of my sister's yard, putting up the punching bag in his hand, and the boys were like, and people thought they were mental.
As a young boy, he taught me how to fix cars. 2 weeks, I was able to fix my mom's car, put in a whole new radiator, a whole new engine, fan belt, everything. And he taught me and my sister, Elizabeth, how to sew up a flounder net. With our school holidays, a lot of kids went out and did activities and had fun, and they'll come back and brag about how much fun they had in their 2-week holiday. We'll come back and say, hey, we just finished sewing up a flounder net. But it actually paid off when we took it out. You know, we took it out to Mangere and we put it down, and we got a good amount of flounder, which we enjoyed for a long time. I was, I think, 10 or 11 years old. I went to Peppertoy Gym, and I joined the gym because I wanted to learn more, and my dad wanted to keep helping us and keep motivating us that if we train hard, we'll do well.
All the people that I would spar with at the gym, if anyone gave me trouble or bullied me around a bit, then Joe would step in, and then he would do the same thing to them that they did to me.
I love my brother, and he's like my best friend. And he had the six-pack, and I always complain to my parents, like, why do you give him the good genes, you know? As much as I train so hard and I do all these ab workouts, why does John get the abs? I honestly, it takes me 10 weeks to train to get abs. John, 2 weeks. I went to Marston College, and our house, or our home, our family home is right next to Aotearoa College. So I got off the bus, and you know, I don't know if I looked at some guy differently, and he sort of thought that I was being cheeky. And so I walked home, and this guy and this group of people following him followed me home. And I kept looking back, like, you know, what do they want? And then I just heard, I want to fight you. And I was like, nah, you know, my dad said not to fight on the street, leave it in the ring. And then so I got home, and my dad was chilling out with his friends and his boys in front of the house. So we'll go, hey, Dad, how's it going? How's your day? He's like, oh, son, what are they doing in front of our house? I said, Dad, the guy wants to fight me. But I said to him, no, I don't want to fight because you told me not to fight outside of the ring. He said, rubbish, take your bag off, take your shirt off, let's go. Took me in front of the house. Who wants to fight my son? And the guy's like, me. Like, all right, boys, count of 3, you guys fight. Ready? 1, 2, 3, fight. I got beat up, man. That was so bad. My dad's like, son, you know, I can see some bruises and some lumps in your head, but if Mom comes to tell her that you tripped up at school and fell and hit your head in the ground.
I remember Salah, you know, she wasn't keen at all on boxing. You know, she wanted Joseph to play any other sport, you know, rugby, basketball, because he's a tall lad.
She didn't really like the contact, you know, she didn't like us getting hurt, and she didn't want us to be in the ring getting punched in the face.
He fought this Palangi guy, and he had a bloody nose, Joe.
I got punched in the nose and there was blood everywhere, and I was gassed. I
drove him home, said, how did you feel, son? I wish I was more fitter, Mum. Okay. Came home, sat him down, and I said, do you want to continue doing this? Yes, Mum. So what do you need to do? Train hard. Then do it. And I said, I don't want to see that bloody nose anymore in the ring. If you are not going to commit yourself to train hard, go and do netball.
You promised me you're going to train hard. I said, Mom, I promise you I'm going to train hard. Watch me.
I was 6 years old when I first started boxing. When I was 7 years old, I had my first amateur fight. I remember getting my butt kicked when I was 7 years old. I didn't want to come back to the gym. My dad was saying, no, keep going. You're going to end up beating those guys up. Kept training and training. I ended up beating everyone at that gym. I'm from Imperial Valley, Mexicali, Baja California. That's where I was born and I grew up. Everyone underestimated me because I was this little kid, chubby little kid, and everybody's like, man, where does he have all this energy from? And before the amateur fight, my dad would always give me a Snicker, I guess, to have more energy and all that, and, you know, paid off. I was 16 years old, and I went to Olympic qualifiers, and I lost the finals against Cuba. I was kind of depressed that I didn't win. I laid off for a year and a half. I puffed up.
His father brought him here. He's 17 years old, almost 18, telling me that he's gonna fight a couple more amateur fights, he's gonna turn him pro. We put him on a scale over there. He was 17 years old, a little short of me, a couple inches shorter. He weighed 309 pounds. At that moment, for a 17-year-old, wasn't the place for him. He was still an amateur. Most of the guys here are seasoned guys. So he went away, and he and his father promised me that if they ever got a title shot, they would be back here and I would be working with them. Sure, okay, you're my friend, I'll believe you.
I went to the Freddie Roach's gym and I started sparring with these heavyweights, and everybody was so surprised. They're like, man, who's this fat dude beating up all these black guys? And that's when Freddie Roach came to me and he took over. Freddie Roach was my coach for 12 fights. So I was like 12-0 with 10 knockouts. Gotta have the veggies. And this is what we do after training, you know? We eat fresh, get good stuff in our body. It's gonna make us perform better. We always like hot sauce, chipotle peppers. You gotta have that. It's called caldo de pollo in Spanish, in the Mexican version, but it's a chicken vegetable soup. You know, this is the best right here. Tapatio.
We thank you, Lord, for this food that you put on us on the table. We thank you for this productive day. We're asking you to bless us, to bless our families, and to bless the camp. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. See, there's a big difference what I used to eat back then. Way different.
Third or fourth day Andy was here, he's running behind everybody, obviously because he's a bigger guy, he's a heavyweight. And I'm following him and going ahead of him and then following, backing off. And he gets back to the gym and he said, Coach, I didn't stop one time. I didn't want to disappoint you. I could see your car back there. I could see your car in front of me. I didn't want to disappoint you. That is the attitude that a fighter's got to have to be successful, I think. So the fact that he said that to me endeared him with me. Why? Because I know a guy is not gonna shortchange himself. He's gonna give me everything that he's got.
Training here is intense. It's hard to breathe, but in reality, this is where every boxer should come, you know, because once you go down out the mountains, your lungs expand, you know, so you have more energy, more confident in yourself to go the limits, you know. Call this a vampire juice. This is my little champ, trying to be like his daddy, trying to wear his little bling bling. It's my daughter, Bella Angelique Ruiz. I gotta win. I want to give the kids, you know, I want to have them secured and have everything for them. So this is what we do for our children, for our loved ones.
He was always the big dog in the gym, so there's nothing to aspire to. Here he's the little dog in the gym. So he's trying to emulate. He's trying to be a Golovkin. And if he works as hard, he's got the skills, he's got the talent. If he can do it at 60%, imagine what he could be at 95%.
Andy Ruiz is in the best shape that I've ever seen him.
Be in the best shape of your life for the biggest payday of his life, for the heavyweight championship of the world. Yeah, it's going to make a heck of a difference in the fight.
He's a quick-fisted guy. He knows how to fight on the inside. He's a Mexican-style heavyweight.
Our Mexican fighters are very tough. They're going to come forward. Most of them don't have reverse buttons, and they broke the reverse button, and they're coming forward. They're coming to get some ass. But I always tell people, you know what I'm saying, to get some ass, you got to give some ass. You know what I mean? So
Andy Ruiz is absolutely a terrific fighter. The fact that he's willing to take a chance and go all the way down to New Zealand, he knows what he's facing down there. The crowd and the atmosphere is going to be against him. But the one thing about boxing and heavyweight boxing, once the bell rings round one and all the fluff around it is done, it's all between those two men that are in the ring. And I think this promises to be a terrific heavyweight championship fight.
Wow. You know, I still remember vividly where you got this one from.
Yeah.
Have a look at it.
Yeah.
Remember?
This was in Palmerston North. New Zealand Golden Gloves champion 2009. Yeah, I was in Palmerston North. When we went out, everyone thought I was going to lose, and then this was like the one where I won and was the opening.
Is
And
it?
it was like the one that sort of gave me the boost. Hey,
Yeah.
so on. I had my first fight at 12. The coach there was Grant Arkel, and he trained a lot of fighters, and it was good. That's where it all started from, being able to be in the gym environment, getting beat up in the beginning, and then slowly working your way up, putting in the work, focusing, listening, being a sponge, absorbing everything you can, and then seeing the progress where you're able to beat them up, like further down the track. I started traveling around 16. I went to Australia, but didn't have a lot of money, so then my parents would take out loans and pay for trips.
There was this Visa card, you know, something called Visa card, where they allowed you up to 15 grand or more than that. So his Visa card was right out of the roof of the house.
J. Parker.
I think my first international tournament, which helped elevate me in boxing, was a trip that I went to Azerbaijan. I went by myself because New Zealand couldn't afford to take a coach.
We didn't like the idea of traveling by himself, but we couldn't help it because we can't afford ourselves to go with him.
I went with the Australian team. The Australian team looked after me. And then we went to India, where my parents took out their loan and paid for that trip. We went to Singapore, which was paid for, thankfully. And then we went back to India for the Commonwealth Games, and I just started traveling all around the world and experiencing different cultures, and it was quite amazing. You know, 16 years old, traveling the world, 16 all the way up to 21, 22. Commonwealth Games, I went to the games and I lost in the quarterfinals, so I wasn't able to medal. But the experience of being at an event like that as an 18-year-old was just amazing.
I wanted so much to be with him during that tournament. But, you know, same story, can't afford it. But we watched it from TV with tears. It was a lot of sacrifice, but we never thought, you know, the sacrifice that we put in would turn Joe the person he is now. We just do it as parents supporting the children.
Nice, Joe. Combinations, Joe. That's it, nice, Joe.
So I missed the Olympics, and then we sat down as a team. I have a management team, and we decided, you're not going to wait another 4 years to go to another Olympics. You might as well turn professional and see how it goes.
My good friend Dean Lonergan, my friend of 25 years, said to me, you know, I think Dave Higgins and I are going to get into the boxing business and we're going to sign Joseph Parker. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. And he said, if we sign him, we want you to train him. And at that particular stage, I was having I'd had a break from coaching professional fighters for a little over a year. Life was safe and it was good, but there was something sort of missing in my life. I needed another challenge.
I can remember like it was yesterday. I mean, we had a meeting and sitting there with Kev, you know, I don't know who he was, you know, I just met him for the first time. And there's been a lot of people in my ear saying, you know, why are you going to go with Kevin? Why do you trust him?
I'd had a few struggles with the Samoan community over the well-publicised 6-year court battle with David Tua. So, you know, there were people saying, oh, why would, you know, to Joe's parents, you know, why would you let him train with Kevin Barry?
And I was like, you know, all these people are talking to me, it's all noise, right? Let me go for myself and experience it. And my parents were fully supportive. Like, go see what Kevin's about. Go see if you can change the fighter that you are now to make you an even better fighter.
Joseph, he's a person that speaks his mind. And I told many people that associated with Joseph, and I said, Joseph speaks his mind. If he likes you, he will let me know. If he doesn't like you, he will let me know. That afternoon, I went round to the family house and I sat there with his mum and dad. And Dempsey said to me, there's a couple of things that, you know, are very, very important to us. And I said, yes. And he said, you know, you have to do these things. And I went, okay. I thought, okay, this sounds pretty serious. And Dempsey said, very important that Joe eats oatmeal in the morning. And I said, Dempsey, that's great because I eat oatmeal in the morning. I can promise you he'll be eating oatmeal. And then Sala said to me, you know, and it's very, very important that Joe goes to church every Sunday. And I said, Sala, I can promise you that as long as Joe wants to go to church, that we will either drive him to church or he'll have a car to drive to church. The only thing that I won't promise you is that I'll go to church with him. So they were the two demands that Dempsey and Sala put on me, and that's where it began.
No one knows me here in America or in Vegas, so it's good. I just come to church, sit there and listen, and I just feel the spirit. I think it's important to get that balance right.
It's a huge move for a Samoan boy or an island boy to get up, leave your family, to leave the church, who are so close to you, to leave that behind and go to the other side of the world and become a boxer. We've seen some of the best rugby league players do the same thing, and sometimes you need to, because one, it shows your intention that you're serious about what you would want to do, you're leaving your comforts behind, and then if you're good enough, and it's hard out there, you swim, and a lot of people sink.
I remember arriving in Vegas at the airport and I was welcomed by gambling machines. I was like, man, this is a different world. What was really nice coming to Vegas was I came with Kev, and as soon as we arrived, I was welcomed by Tan.
Having Joe in the house was not a big deal for me. He fits in, he's one of the boys. You can give him a hard time and he'll laugh at himself.
You're trying to kiss me, did you see that? You're trying to kiss me, that's why I was...
And no, I love him.
It's like I was welcomed into this family environment. You know, I'm leaving my family and coming to another family, being really welcome like this and being treated like a son, like a brother. That made everything a lot easier for me to sort of adapt into this new environment.
Sugar Ray Robertson, that's Dad's favourite fighter.
He's fast, man.
He became one of the family. He had jobs to do, he took the rubbish out, he helped bring the groceries in. You know, I've had things in the house that need repairing, and Joe goes, please, let me do it. He's always been asking me, you know, can I help you? He sees me working, because I'm always doing something, and he goes, you know, hey, coach, let me give you a hand with that. You know, and I have. I've let him put different things together. He's very good with his hands.
You get that bond with someone, you know, and he's been here for 4 years now. And he's, you know, a son to my parents and a brother to me. And, yeah, he's part of the family.
Tay got involved in boxing, and He's found this love for boxing, you know. Like, I mean, anything I want or any information, he'd tell you who's fighting this week or who's fighting next week or who's a great fighter you see come up, he'll tell you straight away. He really loves the sport. No, do you remember the lead up to when you walked up for the second fight?
Oh, that's insane. That was buzzing. Remember I told you that was like the best atmosphere I've ever experienced. Like standing, I was like, oh my god, this is
What was that? 3,000 people?
Yeah.
This is 10,000.
Yeah, more than that.
Wow, yeah. But he's definitely like another brother to me. You know, every time I'm hungry and I want a late night snack, he'll tell you, can you get us a burger? But that was like way back before. You know, now I don't eat burgers at night. One great thing about Tan, she's a great cook. Man, I'm coming here to Vegas, I didn't even know what a salad was. I didn't even used to eat beetroot. Now I like it.
Yes, my friend.
For some reason, I can't stare her down. I can stare down everyone else, but for some reason, I don't know if it's, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but she's pretty dangerous in the stare downs. I can't.
We'll keep practicing.
She's an awesome person. Awesome, amazing, lovely, beautiful. She's everything nice that there is, you know. She's nothing but love since I've been here.
One of the most important aspects with this whole new relationship was going to be whether or not Joe and I had chemistry together. I remember saying to Dean Lonergan, okay, you've given me an impossible assignment with this young, raw, but talented young man. One is he's going to be under enormous pressure in New Zealand. He's going to hit a pay-per-view card against Francois Botha. It was like, come on, man, why don't you just, throw us in with Mike Tyson or someone first fight? This whole experience began with a lot of pressure on me and a lot of pressure on Joe. Dean had already signed Joe to fight Francois Botha, a man who had fought the elite of the heavyweight division. At this particular stage, every single day counted. And I said, you and I are going to have to become very close and a very good team in a hurry. And I said, I'm prepared to work as hard as I possibly can to prepare you for this fight. I will give you everything that I have to give.
And he was like a radio station, just throwing it at me, and I was just doing my best not to get all overwhelmed with everything he was throwing at me. And from the first time we started to the end of the camp here in Vegas, my body changed dramatically. I went from chubby, fat here and there, to straight ripped. And I was like, no, this is cool, man. Now I don't, John, man, where you at?
I threw so much information at him, far more than was practical and far more than I would ever do with another developing young fighter. But the reason why I had to do that is we were fighting Francois Botha.
The Botha fight was always going to be an interesting one because Botha has been around, he's fought everyone, a veteran, and he knew what to do, how to spoil a young fighter, and even taunting Joseph, calling him Baby Joseph.
He smiled all the way to the ring, and I had some of my closest friends in New Zealand, people who've been around boxing all their lives, that said to me, we were watching that and we were thinking, oh, this poor guy, he's got no idea what he's in for. Here he is, smiling, nervously smiling all the way to the ring, and he's going to go out there and just fall apart. He ain't ready for this.
Introducing Joseph Parker!
We identified one combination and that I thought would be very good to work on Botha. Sliding in, changing his level, jabbing to the chest and throwing an overhand right.
The move that I hit Botha with was what he taught me the whole 8 weeks. He told me, you're going to hit Botha with this punch. Jab up, jab down, right hand, over the top. and you were right. You were right, Kev. You know, you told me to do this, and I did it, and I won. And I was like, that's when so from then on, like, my whole trust has been in what he's teaching me.
The way that Joseph Parker controlled his emotions in the lead up to this fight, in the dressing room, walking to the ring, it was absolutely freakish. The Tugu fight was an experience where Joe let his emotions and what other people were saying get to him a little bit.
Went into the fight with a plan that I didn't execute because I thought to myself, you know, stuff everyone talking bad about me, I'm going to show you that I can actually take a punch and I can actually give one. Tugu hit me, I went off track.
And in that fight in particular, he reverted back to type, which was, okay, you want to brawl, I'll put my head down, I'll brawl with you, because I'm tough and because I'll have a go.
I believe that he was the sort of style and the sort of height difference where his head could be a factor if it got near Joe's head.
He's been cut. Joseph Parker has been cut, and it's a bad one over the top of the left eye.
The referee wanted to stop it after one round, and I pleaded with him. I said, you will not stop this fight. I said, you give me one more round.
I told you, don't brawl with them. You're a boxing machine.
And he said, Kev, look at the gash. And I said, give me one more round.
Give me another round. Give me another round. Okay. I'll give you 1 round.
I said to Joe, I said, look, okay, you made a mistake. I said, I've got you 1 round. You've got 1 round to get this guy out of here or we've got a no contest.
Hard jabs and set it up.
You want to win this New Zealand title, go out there and box.
As soon as I followed the plan, I got the knockdown.
Brilliant knockout for Joseph Parker.
He was like, I was like, oh, how's the cut? And he's like, oh, yeah, it's not bad. And then I looked up and he was like, holy damn, kid, fix it, please. It was bad. It was like another mouth on top of my eye.
I know Karen for a long time, when he trained a fighter by the name of Robbie Peden. He come from a great stock. He's come from a good crop of people. You know, he has some very much talented, experienced guys behind him, and if he goes in there and listens to the game plan that they put in front of him, I don't see why he shouldn't be successful.
We would drive to training, we'd talk non-stop all the way there, we'd talk non-stop all the way back, he'd have his lunch, he'd go to bed, he'd get up, we'd go back and we'd do strength and conditioning, we'd talk all the way there, we'd talk all the way back, we'd sit down and have dinner together, we'd talk all the way through dinner, and that was the day.
It would be only me and Kev, and we were pretty boring, eh? Just 2 of us at the gym, telling the same jokes every day.
He hails from South Auckland, New Zealand.
Brian Minto was a big test for Joe. When we talk about game plans and executing game plans, this was the fight that, for me, where Joe actually grew up a lot.
So when I went into that fight, you know, Kev said to me, keep your distance, use the jab. They smashed him from the outside of the jab.
I don't think Minto hit him the whole fight, and Joe dropped him 2 or 3 times, but executed a perfect game plan where there was one guy throwing the punches and the other guy was in a position where he couldn't land a punch.
It showed that, you know, listening again, you get the result.
He learned a lot that night, and I think Kevin Barry got a respect for him. He realised that it wasn't like you're fighting at the ABA down the road, and it was more to it. And he realised that boxing is a true science, and that's what we started to see.
Peter Costa Jr. from Brazil, who with a record of 15-1, he was world ranked. All his 15 wins were by knockout. He was a very, very heavy-handed guy. Joe absolutely shone that night. He went out there and he worked to the head, he worked to the body. The combinations that he threw, the angles that he put on display were by far the best of his professional career.
Round 3, I saw the opening. He said, you know, take your time and break him down. And so when I showed him the top, I showed him the bottom, showed him the top, showed him the bottom, and then when I showed him the bottom, I hit the top and I knocked him out.
He moved his head over with the left hook, caught him with the right hand, one punch, knockout. He was stone cold, and he fell like a tree, and it was one of those fights that made a statement. The Carlos Takam fight was the most valuable fight in Joe's professional career.
Carlos Takam is a guy that no one wanted to fight. And if you think about the current champions at the moment, you think about Anthony Joshua, you think about Deontay Wilder. I don't think they've fought anyone the caliber of Takam.
I said to him, you know, they give it to me, you know, I want to fight him straight away. I'll fight him now.
And I told everybody coming into the fight who would listen that the fight was a 50-50 fight.
I think Joseph early on in the first 4 rounds probably worked a little bit harder than he needed to, and then he got put on the back foot. And I remember sitting there ringside thinking he's punched himself out. He's not going to have what it takes to come down to the 12th round and win this.
For the Takam fight, we had a long camp, a 14-week camp. I think about week 8, I sort of hit a wall and crashed, and my body just couldn't train for about 3 or 4 days.
Joe got in some very dark places in that fight. He found out a lot about himself in that fight. In fact, we all found out a little more about Joe. We found out that he could go into a very dark place, survive the round, come back to the corner, regroup, freshen up, listen to his coach, and go back and change it around the next round.
Then I watched this young man sort of compose himself, come back with a good vocal crowd there in Manukau.
Being in New Zealand, having that support, there was just the crowd going crazy, and you could just feel everyone wanting you to do your best and wanting you to win and to be the champion of New Zealand. So you know, I went into that fight knowing that I had the support, and I just pushed through the hard times, pushed through the pain.
That fight was not Joe's best work, but it was a fight that I will take. It's a fight that we got the #1 mandatory ranking from, and a fight that is absolutely invaluable in moving forward fighting Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz is a much bigger task and a much more dangerous opponent than Carlos Takam. Joseph will have to fight a lot better than he did against Takam. So I need Joe to fight his best ever fight against Andy Ruiz.
Yeah, I sparred Andy in 2013.
I was weighing like 290 pounds. We're in Las Vegas.
And then Andy jumped in the ring with one of his training partners, and he was just working at about 10%.
And the first time they see me, they're laughing at me. They're like, man, we're gonna spar this guy?
I was watching him, I was like, nah, man, come on, kid, look at this guy, he's chubby. You know, he can't fight, look, he's not even beating the guy up.
And he goes, Coach, look at him. And so Andy does 2 rounds while I'm getting Joe warmed up and ready. And Joe he just couldn't believe that I was building Andy up, and he was looking at him, and I go, Joe, he's messing with you.
And the kid said to me something important. He said, don't watch what he's doing, focus on what we're trying to do.
The bell goes, and this guy that had been moving in slow motion tears across the ring, and he's about 6 feet away from Joe and starts landing punches, and Joe just came out of the corner.
We just started exchanging, you know, a lot of fireworks.
First round was the hardest I've ever been hit by someone.
I guess the punches that I got him, you know, I hurt him.
He ripped a little hole in the side of my mouth, which was pretty sore at the time, so I'll try to get him back for that.
Back in the car with Joe, and we drive away from the gym, and Joe goes, Coach, I'm so sorry. And I go, Joe, what are you sorry for? He said, I'm so sorry. And I said, Joe, did you do your best? And he goes, yes, Coach, I did my best. And I said, don't ever say sorry to me when you do your best. When you don't do your best, you better be bloody sorry. I said, son, I know you did your best. Welcome to heavyweight boxing, Joe.
This fight's it, December 10. This is for the WBO Heavyweight Championship of the world. You can't get any bigger than this.
Joe is acutely aware of how good Andy Ruiz is.
No heavyweight in the world who has hands as fast as Andy Ruiz.
Andy has experience. Andy is a very good puncher in both hands, power in both hands, a great combination puncher, a true, legitimate contender for heavyweight championship or heavyweight supremacy one day even.
We as fans are going to be treated to a great fight, the way it should be.
You know what, it's kind of funny because when you go into the ring fight night, you're in there by yourself. It's just one man.
You gotta think in your head that he's taking food away from your children. He's trying to take your opportunity that you worked for many years. You gotta be willing to die for what you stand and for what you worked for so long.
With heavyweights, one punch can make the difference. We've never seen what happens if Joe gets hit right on the button, then I've never seen what happens if Andy gets hit on the chin. But I do know this, when heavyweights hit another heavyweight on the chin, they go.
I mean, this is a goal that I've had ever since I was a little kid and I was young, you know. I said to myself, one day I'll be the world champion. And this is my opportunity. I think I did an interview about a year ago and I said, you give me 1 year and I'll be the champion of the world. Look where we are now.
Joe and I would go to the park and do our own training for hours at a time. And as we were running along side by side, we'd look at each other and we were telling each other, when you're world champion, buy me a house. And he would turn around, when you're world champion, buy me a car.
The guy who is at the top, the champion, always can look forward to major paydays.
For me, my favourite day of the year is Christmas Day, without a doubt. But Christmas is coming 15 days earlier, and it's not going to be Santa handing out the gifts, it's going to be Joseph Parker. So I can't wait if he gets that belt for all New Zealanders.
He deserves it. I remember we would be driving to trainings years ago and we were always talking about this moment and we're here. It's emotional. Like every day I look at Joe and I'm like, hey, and the new. And he's like, yeah, we know what's at stake. You win the heavyweight championship of the world, you're the king.
This is the beginning of the journey. This is only just beginning. This young man is the youngest by 2 years in any of the world top 10s. This is not the finished product. We still have a lot of work to do.
I'm nervous already. But at the same time, I'm thinking, yeah, he was away for a reason.
You just start to think, you know, about everything that's been happening to get you into this position. It would just be a proud moment for myself, for my family, for New Zealand and for Samoa.
This is the journey that the whole country have come along with. You know, they've watched him. They've watched him grow up in 4 years. They've watched him turn into the man he is today. He was this soft boy, and now he is battle-hardened man. He has confidence. He is standing up and he's taken ownership of himself. One thing I said to Joe right back at the beginning when he couldn't make a decision for himself and everyone was making decisions for him, I said, Joe, what you don't realise is that this young man, when you look in the mirror and looking at today, you won't recognise him in 2 years. Not only that, what's inside this young man's thought process now, you won't even recognise that guy. I said, in 2 years' time, Joe, you will be the leader of this team. This will be your team. And this is Joseph Parker's team.
To have the whole of New Zealand behind me and to have this at home, dream come true. I wouldn't want to have it anywhere else. New Zealand's the place to be, and you know what? Let's make history.
Burger King proudly brought you Parker versus Ruiz Jr., A Fighting Chance.